Okay.
Hey everybody, let's talk.
Well, I just got back here. Take a second.
All right, you said okay. You got up here and you turned around and you said okay.
Well, yeah, but I had just got here.
Well, I thought okay meant okay. Meant as in let's start.
Okay.
Okay, so I got to wait for okay?
No.
Is that like the pat on the shoulder versus the push on the shoulder?
I know you were going to say that. I knew it. All right.
You were just waiting for that. Mm-hmm. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about silvopasture and how do you set that up. So let's go take a look. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Renewed Homestead. Ben and Denise here, and today we're going to get started on our silvopasture.
Yes.
Now, you can kind of see the little bit of the forest behind us, and that's where we're going to be working today. And so we'll just walk you through as we've researched. We know what we're trying to accomplish, and we'll walk you through as we we know what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
We don't know if we're going to get it accomplished.
We'll get it accomplished. It's just the journey along the way.
Is what that looks like going to match what we have in our heads?
Yes.
It
will eventually.
Yes. So, all right. Well, let's get started. We'll get on the other side of the creek here and get going. All right. So, what is silvopasture?
In simplified terms, silvopasture is essentially creating pasture in between the trees. Right? So you see this forest behind us, it is overgrown. There's a lot of unhealthy and dead trees. So a lot of sun cannot get down to the ground. So with silvopasture, you clear out some of the trees to allow the sun to penetrate the ground so grass can grow up between the trees. So you have woods and you have pasture together.
Right. And the remaining trees are healthier because they've also got the sun and they're not competing.
Exactly. And I want you to think of this kind of like a permaculture system, right? Which it is. Everything works together. You have the trees or the forest, you have the grass, and you have food that all comes together in a symbiotic relationship.
Right.
Yes.
So this forest has not been logged in something like 70 years, we're told. And like she said, we've got a lot of small trees, spindly, dead trees. And I mean, we can see some growth. I mean, you can see some green down here, but we got to open that up. So
yes, and a lot of the benefits of silvopasture, like we said, you got all these three things working together. Well, what do I mean by food? Well, we know we have food in our animals, right, in our livestock, because that's going to be processed for meat. But those animals are then going to fertilize the grass, fertilize the trees. But then we can implement trees such as fruit trees and nut trees that not only will provide food for us, but it will provide food for the animals. So you have everything working together. And there are multiple benefits to silvopasture, which we'll get into as we go throughout the video.
Okay. Now I was going to mention... Well, I'll go ahead and mention it, since we have you here anyway. If you've watched Billy over at Permapasture's Farm, you know, or to get into it?
No, it's fine. I was saying it was on his podcast, right? Not on his video.
Oh, no, on his videos. If you've been following his pigs, this right behind us is very, very steep. So one of the other benefits of having our animals in here is they actually start creating terracing for us. So we have more access to it. The animals have more access to it. So just like the chickenade, we're going to put our other animals to work. So first, a little Cool Whip.
No,
this is a spray paint. I'm not huffing paint.
No.
So first off, we need to know what trees are we going to cut down. So there is a ratio, a formula you can use.
Yeah, and there's a few of them out there, but the general consensus.
Yeah, and it's going to depend on what, like she had mentioned a moment ago. You didn't hear it, but depends on the size trees you've got too.
And the canopy of the trees.
Right. So we've got, this one's a, I just had it, poplar tree. This one we know we want to keep. It's right along the creek, so we want those roots to keep the ground.
The bank.
The bank. I can't think of the term.
We don't want it to erode the bank.
Help prevent that erosion. That's what I was looking for.
Yes, so that's why we're not taking this out, because those roots are deep in and you can see it's kind of holding the bank together.
Yep.
So, but there's a lot of other trees we need to get out.
Right. So we have figured, there's ranges from 15 feet to 100 feet with how far around a tree you should clear.
Well, and the standard rule of thumb, I think, is 50 to 80 feet, 50 to 80 feet. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna go with 25 feet for right now. So we've cut a string, and normally you would use just like an orange construction spray paint. I happen to have an old can of white spray paint. Hopefully it works. I'm just gonna mark the trees we want to cut down so we can just measure once and cut twice, if you will.
Yes,
So.
and we're starting with a 25-foot radius between so that we can get a look and see how much sun will be coming through. Yep. Some people would say 100 to 150 feet in between trees. We think that's too much because we still really want to utilize the forest, and we want to keep the forest healthy. But we're starting off, we may adjust, but right now we're starting with 25.
Yeah, we'll adjust. And some of the bigger trees that for the moment we're not going to cut down. Behind you is the sawmill that we're working on getting set up, and we're going to want to mill those trees. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get measured here, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So. All right, so 25 feet, right?
25 feet. That's from her to me. So really and truly, these 3 trees should go. I'm going to mark these 2.
And that one there, right?
Yeah, definitely this one.
I thought you had tested it.
No.
A few moments later.
All right, so obviously this one's got to go. I don't know if the white's going to be much better.
Can you put an X?
On the bigger tree, sure.
There we go.
There we go. All right, there's an X. So for the folks at home, I think you can see it, but there's 3 trees here. The bigger one in the back, I think for now we'll leave, but we got to take out these first 2. I mean, they're overcrowding themselves each other anyway. All right, so stretch the line. This one's got to go. That would go anyway, it's dead. So even if it was outside the perimeter, we'd take it down lower here. This little guy. And these 2 are in the area. The orange, if we wind up at the store, we should pick up a can of that orange construction
that one,
stuff.
Yep.
Huh?
That one. Careful, you're caught over there, hon.
Yep, I see it. It's okay, Belle. All right, got it?
Yep.
All right, so this big boy. That one ought to be fun. That's bigger than anything I've felled before.
First time for everything.
Yep.
That one's definitely got to go probably, right?
It's actually just outside the line.
All right, so leave it.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it for now.
All right.
There's one on the back side of it that needs to come off. Now the other thing we're contending with is bark beetle here, like everywhere else in the U.S. It gets under their bark and that tree is dead. I see some pines with wilting needles. We got to cut them down. I mean, it's going to kill it.
Nature will find a way.
Yep.
If we stop interfering, nature will find a way.
Right. Are you implying that we brought in the bark beetle?
I'm implying that we destroy everything we try to fix with chemicals.
Yep.
Just like bee vaccines. All right, so we've got all the trees marked within a 25-foot radius. So we're going to take down some of the smaller trees. Now, I've taken down a few already. Ben has actually given me the Sawzall. It's easier for me to use. We really want a smaller electric chainsaw that will be easier for me to use, but they're about $400, so right now that's not going to happen.
Ouch.
Yeah, so
But the advantage of the Sawzall, it's cordless, obviously. We've got multiple batteries. I've got one in the shop charging. We've got an extra one right here, and we got the one that's on it.
And I can use it a lot easier than a chainsaw.
But that's the advantage I'm talking about, is we can come out here, figure out which trees we want to save, mark the X's. I can go work on another project. She can come out here and take out these little ones. Now, she could easily use the chainsaw too. I have a little more experience with it, and some of these big ones, you know, you're not exactly comfortable doing that yourself.
I've used it. I've taken down some smaller black walnut trees with it. It's just very heavy. And I'm not saying I can't use it. It's just I fatigue a lot faster than you do too. And I've never taken down a really big tree, so I would want a little more experience before I felt comfortable doing that by myself, especially.
And for purposes of this video, we're going to go ahead and cut a couple of them down with the chainsaw once we get the little ones out. But I desperately need to get in there and sharpen my chain. I was cutting another post over there, and it went like this. So when you're chainsawing, when you're cutting with something with the chainsaw and it starts curving, your chainsaw is way
well, it's not hard to do though, because you were cutting black walnut, and that just eats through your. Well,
black walnut, and then some old phone poles,
and the black locust. Yeah. So you were going through some pretty heavy duty.
But it needs to be sharpened, and I know in an ideal world, a lot of people who use chainsaws on a regular basis will go in when they're done with the day. At the end of the day, they'll go through, sharpen the chain so they're ready for the next day. Well, I am not that organized.
We're working on it.
She's working on it. Now there is a rhyme and a reason to some of the trees too. These aren't going to just lay here and be allowed to rot into the ground. We're going to cut off the upper branches, and those will be left in piles, and we'll talk about that later. But we have some plans for some of these trees too, and we'll get to that. Black walnut down.
Oh, that's why it was so hard.
That's part of it.
Whoops.
Okay, well, we've done a little bit of clearing. I'm going to go sharpen that chainsaw. That tree that I just cut, we should have been through that in about 30 seconds, and it took way too long, and so a little bit of maintenance needs to be done.
Yes, but as you can see, this is another spot. We'll be coming through here. I can easily take out a lot of those little trees. So we've got a lot to do. We've got about about 35 acres, right? Altogether to...
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
30-ish acres, something in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
But some of it we're still going to leave wild. Some of it's going to be logged. Yeah, so we got work to do.
We do. Now, other benefits of silvopasture, as we've talked about before, you want to keep water on your land. One of the main reasons that California, Arizona, a lot of other places see such massive flash flooding is because the soil is not healthy. It cannot hold on to water. Yep. Silvopasture, just like in our standard pasture, healthier soil will hold on to that water, so it allows you to trap more of it. Yep. It will also prevent erosion because all that water is not rushing down, clearing away all the soil and topsoil and everything else that it has. Okay. It allows you to utilize more of your land, because a lot of people, this forest here, they wouldn't use it. They would just leave it. So by creating silvopasture, we're actually able to get access and utilize a good portion of our land.
That's right. Turn that grass into meat.
Yes.
Quite literally.
Yes, and fruit and nut trees. And we're going to show you the process here in another video. We are creating silvopasture in our pastures, and we're going to bring you along and show you how we do that. It's a little bit different than clearing out an existing forest.
A lot different. A lot different. But as I talked about, once the animals are in there and they start creating that terracing, it almost creates a natural swale So that water, instead of just shooting down the hill, it hits those flat spots, soaks down, and so you retain more of that water. Allows the ground to soak it in and not just wash it off.
Exactly. And trying to think of a great way to say this. We don't buy into a lot of the climate narrative that's out there. We have our own thoughts that we're not going to go into here. But for those that are concerned about it, silvopasture will actually trap 5 to 10 times more carbon than the same amount of pasture without trees. Did that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, so if you have so let's say you have 10 acres of open pasture with no trees, and you have 10 acres of silvopasture, that silvopasture is going to trap 5 to 10 times more carbon than the open pasture. So that's huge.
California calling.
Right? And here's the other question. So we can save, it's estimated that we can save about $650 billion and trap, 31.19, I believe it's gigatons, right?
I believe that was it.
Of carbon by utilizing silvopasture. So question for y'all, why are we doing things the way we are? Why is the government setting up carbon sequestration buildings, tools, whatever, that big tunnels, that big structure that they've just taken all that land from farmers in the Midwest to put in this structure, and I don't know the technical term, sorry y'all, but that's not going to reduce carbon at all.
It's a giant vacuum they're building underground.
Yes, that's not going to reduce carbon at all, right? It's not going to do nearly enough that they say that we need done. So why are we doing that instead of silvopasture?
Just follow the money.
I know. Just
now,
good question.
Now, we are not denying that mankind has been cruel to this earth.
Oh.
Our emissions, our plastics, all those things.
And look at our modern day agriculture system. We're killing quadrillions of life, soil organisms, insects. Yeah.
Yeah. So are we doing harm? Yes. Are we on the right path for correcting that? Follow the money.
No, yeah, and y'all, green energy is horribly toxic to the environment. I actually encourage you, Doug just actually did a video on whales that are washing up on shore along the East Coast. I will link that video down below. I encourage y'all to watch it. It's actually very, very disturbing.
It is. It is. We hadn't heard about it until we saw Doug's video. I mean, nothing in the news about this, interestingly, but it sounds like it's a real bad problem.
Yes.
Because it's not just the whales.
Yes. So silvopasture can solve a lot of problems. Again, remember, it is a permaculture solution because everything's working together symbiotically. It's going to create healthier animals. And one of the great things about silvopasture, it creates shelter. So when you've got animals that are heat stressed, or you have animals that are out in extreme weather, they don't do very well. They become unhealthy. They can become sick. The quality of meat, because they are stressed, can definitely suffer. So by having silvopasture and giving them areas of shelter, you actually have a higher quality of meat. You have healthier animals, just like on rotational grazing. And y'all, we're going to rotationally graze in our silvopasture just like we do in our open pasture. There's a lot of solutions that silvopasture can solve. So I encourage you to look more into it. If you're interested, let us know if you have any questions. We've been doing a lot of research on this because we knew when we saw this that we definitely wanted to open this up and get this healthy again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been neglected, and you can tell. I mean, when we first got here, we didn't realize the extent of how neglected and how unhealthy it is. It's like, oh, look, lots of trees. It's beautiful. Well, it is. It is absolutely beautiful. But when you get down to what Mother Nature would want, because normally you would have wildfires. They would come through, kill off the little seedlings, allow some new seeds to grow, kill off the older trees, the diseases and things like that.
And big animals would have gone through because there would be no fencing, so you'd have more and more animals that would be able to go back and forth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've put the shackles on Mother Nature, so now we need to at least help.
Yes, we need to be part of the solution.
There you go.
Part of the solution, yes. But this is just the start of it. I said, we've got a lot of work to do. Anybody's, you know, near Yancey County and you want to help.
That's right. We got extra pruners. Heck, I'll go out and buy another. Well, I'm not going to buy another chainsaw.
No, because we would have bought an electric
That's
chainsaw.
right.
But
yeah,
yes.
yeah, got lots of hand saws.
Yeah. Not sure anybody wants to do that, especially on a black walnut.
No.
Yeah, and a lot of our trees, and one thing I want y'all to consider when you're doing silvopasture, like Ben had mentioned, you need to really look at the trees that you have and what their canopy is. Obviously, if we had, you know, like there used to be a lot of chestnuts in Appalachia, right? We know, unfortunately, they got, is it fungus? What was it that?
Some kind of blight.
It was a blight that affected the trees. But if this was a whole bunch of chestnuts, obviously we're going to have to look at the spacing and do it differently because those trees were massive. The canopies are massive.
Families lived inside the cavities of these trees.
Yeah,
that's
they were
how massive they were.
So we know that we have to. So take a look at your canopies, take a look at the trees you have, and then that will help you determine. We're going 25 feet right now, but we may come back once we see the sun going through and say, no, we need 50 feet. Yep. There might be areas that we only need 10 feet. There might be areas that we need 80 feet, 100 feet. So it's all going to depend on the trees that you have and the canopy that you have.
Yep.
So, all right. I think we're,
you
know, just to, you know, kind of a video just to let you know what we're doing and kind of give you a little bit of an education on what silvopasture is.
Yep. That's the direction we're going.
Yep.
And Friday, it still looks like we're going to have a surprise. So this is becoming a little more urgent.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
I think we're good.
Loki, got anything else? Loki didn't have anything for you. He's laying in the snow. Yes, the snow's melting, muddy mess.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's that time of year. So, all right. Well, yeah, put in your comments if you've got questions, any ideas, suggestions.
No.
Loki, no whining. No whining. No hate mail for us not buying the narrative, but I think you know us well enough by now. You wouldn't be watching the video if you were going to send us hate mail on it.
Right.
So. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you are well. Take care. God bless. Go in peace. Serve the Lord. We'll see you on the next video.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.